Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. What's happened over the course of the last several months is probably not really that new, but what has become apparent to me over the course of the last several months is that exactly what I feared our enemies doing, they're doing. Exactly what I feared for us is now developing. And it is also what I told us to prevent. I knew how to prevent these things that we have to face. For some reason, no matter how well I told us to prevent them, we didn't. We sat back and we watched people work to create exactly what it was I did not want you to have to face. Very quickly, very quickly, uh, the word got out that you could be well treated in places like Thailand and Colombia. And very quickly, the word got out in Colombia that you can drug any of these foreigners, whether they're gringos or just, or even locals or people visiting from other parts of South America. You can drug them and you can rob them and you can take everything. And then it started happening. And you even have some interviews with some of these women saying, well, they don't try to kill the victims. They would rather just rob them while they're unconscious. But if they do, so what? They got kids and the kids got to eat. Or where are these dads at? That means you got men, whether they're trying to smash or not. And I know it doesn't take that in order for someone to try to drug you and rob you. But you got men out here that are spending time with women who, for whatever reason, are out here trying to make ends meet for their kids. But the kids have dads who, for whatever reason, are not there. And so now you're a victim because she's got to do it by herself because she doesn't see fit to hold dad accountable if she can. And even then, the question is, well, really, should she even? Some would say, well, black man, if you're Muslim, and more Muslims are bringing this up, they're saying, well, if you're Muslim, why do you even listen to red pill content of any kind? And I know they're asking each other this, but I'm going to step in and say, well, I'm a Muslim and I actually create red pill aware content. So I know the question is definitely going to be directed at me as it one day should be. And I'm going to state what the purpose is to juxtapose that with what has happened. There's been one woman in a manosphere group to which I belong on one of the social media platforms. One, and I remember this being roughly 6 years ago. This one woman didn't want women to be castigated naturally, but she really didn't want women to be examined. And this woman sat up and she said, even to me, well, at the time I was Blackheart. And she said, well, Blackheart, you're Muslim and why are you up here contributing to this when you're not even supposed to be concerned about fornication at all except to avoid it? And the only sex for you all is within a marriage. And I told her, you know, you're right about the rules for the Muslim, but I'm not telling anyone to fornicate. I'm not here necessarily because I want men fornicating or women fornicating. I'm here because I Yeah, I actually agree with you. I don't want people fornicating, but I'm here because I want the path to marriage smoothed out. And that's one of the things that I've been on from the time that I've been Muslim. Even before being Muslim, I want the path to marriage to be smoothed out. But not only that, I would also like for the path within a marriage to be smoothed out between spouses because you already have enough opposition from the outside world coming in. And what I see is that there are no mechanisms by which responsible men and responsible women are introduced to each other. If they don't just happen to meet and recognize each other and like each other and then marry after having met in school or at work, then it's not going to happen for them. Well, guess what? At work is out of the question. That's done. So it's left. School, well, that's out of the question too. You're talking about universities. High school's too young, and universities are out of the question because once you're a guy that women don't like in universities, Title IX means that you can and you should be kicked out of the university, even if you can't be convicted in a court of law. That's it. That's it. So these avenues are pretty much done away with. I've wanted that from the very beginning. It is not that I've wanted you guys to be out here traveling to particular places just to fornicate. As long as that's a goal, then there are going to be effects of this fornication, like kids that these single moms got to raise by themselves, and there you become a target. Now you're a mark. She wants to know the same thing she wanted to know when she was younger and childless, but now she wants to know with a greater sense of urgency how to separate you from these resources because for her, getting out and working to get these resources for her kids is too much. Better to make a quick come up off a few $1,000s or pesos worth of electronic equipment at your expense with a quick deception. And even in Colombia, when guys find these ladies that robbed them later on and they bring a camera into this woman's face, these women still are cussing them out, everything except taking accountability. Everything but that. That's not going to be the case. Well, they sit up and say, you know what, I was wrong. They don't even say, I'm just trying to feed the kids. And it's not that I hate you. I'm just trying to feed. No, even then, no. Spit on the man because he dared to go to the nearest cop and say, I got a report out. This is the woman that robbed me. I identified her. That's what you're dealing with because, but think about how quickly it went from what I said before to well, how quickly it went from girl, where these men at to girl, I'm down here in Cartagena. I'm at the airport and I see them here. This is where the men are. Remember that by 2021? Y'all remember that? Well, how quickly did we go from that to now people saying if you're going to go to Colombia, you better go with people that you know? How quickly did it go from one to the next? See, the thing I understand is that men and women are naturally important to each other. God made it that way. That's how he set it up. Chastity is an important development for people. And chastity is not celibacy. Chastity is a healthy marriage and limiting sex life to these healthy marriages. That is chastity, which is necessary. But the gender war, the misandry in the gender war, is designed to make sure that chastity becomes something that is not even realistic for the men or the women. Unrealistic to expect of yourself and unrealistic to look for in a partner. Even chastity by relatively liberal standards and not religious standards, just you don't cheat on the person that you say you're with. Even that is something that they want to make sure is not reasonable for you to look for in a lady that you may be coupling up with if you don't have the religious standards of chastity. That's what the gender war seeks to do. Some seek to come along and tell you, well, women are actually quite important, and life's not worth living if they all hate you. So they start with the truth, and then they go into something that's not correct. And then the opposite extreme, well, they're not important, and you're young, and you need to work on everything else about yourself except looking for a wife or girlfriend or whatever you define as your life's partner. Now, for us as wives, but they're going to go by your standards, and they're going to say, well, you shouldn't even care right now because you're under 24, you're still building. No, that's the time. And many of you young guys are saying, wait a minute, no, I'm not going to sit up and wait until I'm at the finish line for them to come along and say, okay, because if I have to be a finished product and she doesn't, then I'm going to run through them. Now, see, with this point, you've been told a standard that's not fair to you. And so you feel like you got to find some way to compensate. And you were told to do too much in exchange for too little. So now what is there to compensate? Nothing. It's not there. Because at this point, being limited to one woman, even though in our religion polygyny is allowed, being limited to one woman is just that's automatically an unfair deal. But there's no way to be married to more than one without somebody giving you a headache for that. What the gender war seeks to do is to take ladies that are an important part of men's life and make sure that they ruin that. Take the healthy options out of that part of life, that very important part of life. That's what it seeks to do. And they're winning in that regard. Now, it's winning at the expense of both the men and the women, but they're winning at this. Because if you look at that, which is considered to be wholesome by even other religions' standards, if you look at that, which is what? Marriage, preferably a happy, healthy marriage. You take that, which is wholesome by all of these different standards, agreed upon standards, and that is what is consistently being taken off of the table. No, you can't have that. And that's what the gender war was about. It wasn't about anything else but that. It was about that and only that and nothing else. And if you don't sit up there and let them point fingers at you for being a guy, let them point fingers at you for just pretty much anything, one reason or another, let them make up reasons to point fingers at you. Then what they do is they start coming up with these really airy and breathy speeches and big words like Aphrodisia did, to whom I reacted in a previous upload during Ramadan, about how traumatizing it is for women because men are brutes and never take accountability. The whole time it ain't even the men. It's only a few, very few, that actually resort to violence specifically based on gender-based reasons. The last one being a fiction. And so whenever it is that you found places where it is that you can locate women that will at least treat you well according to their understandings, know that even though I am for my religion's standards of chastity and definitions of chastity, I do understand what the war is about and what the war is against. I realize that. And I want you to know that even if there was a particular place where men could go and they could not necessarily, well, actually, there was a place like that. The Middle East was like that. You couldn't come here looking for girlfriends. Women couldn't even come here looking for boyfriends per se. But if you were Muslim and your goal was to marry, well, this was a place you could go, because even if you weren't going to marry the local Gulf women in this part of the Middle East, from this part of the Middle East, you could come here and live, and you could marry women from other places and still stay here legally. That was an option. And what are they doing? They've ruined that too. That's over. Women from the Philippines that are living here might decide to rush to marry you because they're already pregnant by somebody else. And they just found out and they want you to think you're the dad. That's what they're looking for in a rush. I know, because they tried it on a Saudi friend of mine. They weren't playing. They were all about deception. And the thing is, a student of mine recently told me that paternity tests in the kingdom are now illegal. Whoa. Uh-oh. They're illegal. You know what that means? They're illegal. Well, what that means is that now that they're against the law, you're just going to have a bunch of ladies out here having other men's babies. I don't know when that's going to start. It's not an easy thing to have happen yet, but it can. I mean, after all, the proof is illegal. The thing is that it's not going to stay illegal forever, I don't think. I don't think that's going to be the case. And so that's part of why it is. I don't think that anytime soon a bunch of ladies are just going to go ahead and start saying, oh, well, you know what? I don't really like my husband. Dad picked him out for me. I want to have this other guy's baby. I don't think they're going to start doing that yet. They'll probably want to see if it's going to stay illegal for a long time, how long it will stay such. But you see, the war is pretty much all about any whatever you find decent by your standards being kept away from you. That's what the war is about, and that's why I address it. Because one thing is that the warriors, the gender warriors, are against both of us, whether you're going merely to look for some trim to pay for and not be treated badly in the meantime and not be robbed and not be drugged for it, or you're going looking for a girlfriend that you might like to marry one day, or you're going looking to marry and start the family. Whatever you were looking for that is decent by your standards, they want to make sure is not there, so that however you define decent, it's not going to be available for you, but it's going to be for them. That's what they're there for. That's what the war is about. And you've got a lot of Muslim guys now that are beginning to talk a little bit more and more about red pill data and red pill awareness, and what red pill aware men have been known for the longest. They're beginning to talk more and more about this because in the West, especially in the UK, these Muslim men are becoming aware that Muslim women are playing these same mother cuss word games because they can. In Canada, you got 60% of women that answer or participate in these surveys telling the surveyors they ain't virgins and they ain't married either. No, they just fornicated. Whatever the percentage is of Muslim guys in Canada that have done this, it's something so small it's not even, it doesn't make sense. So few men, so many women, at least, that are answering these surveys. So who are these men supposed to marry if they're inexperienced? That's what this gender war was about. Now, what are these? Now, these men have nothing but bad options, and that's it. I mean, hell, take a Rahaf Kanun, I think is her name. Rahaf Al Kanun uh, escaped from Saudi, as you guys know, and got sanctuary and asylum in Canada. And apparently now she's living with some couple and doing OnlyFans. And there was some students that told me about that. Everybody pretty much said she's bound to be depressed. I mean, she's a drunkard. She's certainly going to do herself in at some point because her conscience is really going to bother her and worry her until she does. And that's what they said. I don't think she has enough of a conscience to do herself in at any point. But understand that when she had this boyfriend, she said he was the love of her life. He dug her out, but within a very short time of losing her virginity, more than likely, now she done already committed paternity fraud. Y'all get it? You can't win for losing. That's what this gender war wanted. And that's why I've been saying to you guys, don't underestimate what these gender warriors are willing to do. Once they know you like going somewhere because you're not being ill treated there, they're going to try to mess it up for you. And we've seen now recently a video of a woman in Thailand trying to stab a brother with a knife. I don't know what it's about. I don't know what the backstory is. The point is it degenerated into violence, and he didn't want to stab her. She wanted to stab him, and this was in Thailand. What the fuck is going on? It was known that they weren't violent. That was known and understood. Why is that changing now? They've been able to take some of this culture of violence against men, this misandrist violence, and they were able to a certain extent, export it into South America, or at least desensitize the population to it. They were able to then, I mean, hell, I don't have to tell you about Africa. Men in Accra and men in Nairobi have reported just being, their women will pummel them out of materialism. Obatunde, the African American that O'Shea knew, went to Uganda, married a submissive wife, and she flipped out on him so bad her family came, got her, and apologized to him after she chipped one of his teeth because she could. I don't even know how much effort that took on the part of the Westernicians to tell her to do that. Some guys I know from Uganda were sitting up and saying, if you don't control these women, that's what happens. I'm like, how do you control them? What is legal to do there? I mean, if it's legal to pop her on the butt and get her in line, then I know what you mean. But if not, then what are you talking about? If you got laws there that are the same as the ones in the States and they're enforced the same, then all the women are going to have the power to hit these men because it's illegal to stop them from hitting you. In the West, if a woman's trying to hit you and you grab her wrist, you're in trouble. Not because it's illegal for you to defend yourself on the books, but because she's going to scream and cry like, oh my God. And every time you let her wrist go because you already restrained her, she turns around and hits you again or swings at you again. It's funny to them. And it doesn't take much work for them to put these messages and these ideas in the continent because in some parts of the continent, these ideas are already there. Sometimes it's due to the colonizers, and sometimes it's due to a particular local culture from which it spreads. Whatever works best is going to be what they going to be that to which they grab, and from there they're going to try to water that seed wherever they find it. And we're sitting up here thinking that just locating another place is enough. I've been saying the steps are not enough to merely locate another place. You must have buddies there and you trade notes with them and you let them know what the hell is coming down the pike so that they can tell others. In some places, it's already too late. You can't, South African men know what it is. They can't get the society to stop becoming more and more misandrous. It's too far gone. It's over. For them, the women from Cabo Verde are the lick and they escape. And in Cabo Verde, the women from the big cities are problematic. So, I mean, I don't really know what to tell you at this point. You like Thailand, they're ruining it. You like the Philippines, they're working to ruin that too. They probably already did, at least the larger cities. You pick other parts of Southeast Asia, they're going to do the same thing over there. Your best bet, actually, now, gentlemen, is to probably become buddies with men in other parts of Southeast Asia and just let them know what the deal is before you even start showing up there. Let these men know what the hell it is that is going to be marketed to their sisters and their daughters and their nieces and their cousins. And just let them know ahead of time so that they can put a stop to this mess. Then this way, if you do wind up showing up there later on in some numbers, you will be seen as the ones who warned them about what was coming instead of just another population for these ladies to exploit. Because you want to know what's next, let me tell you, since these ladies have already gotten certain footholds for certain nasty ideas within Thailand and the Philippines, they're just going to other parts of Southeast Asia before you start really flocking there like that. Because that's who the hell they are. In some other places where you don't have a large expat population, but you got a few nasty expats of the other persuasion from the States or from the UK going, and they actually do have victims. And according to the criminal definition of the word, even in the local languages, you know what I'm talking about. You know those kinds of guys. Well, let me tell you something about them. These misandrists are already going to start telling locals that that's just men. That's the nature of men. That's what they're going to start doing. Start saying that so that when you do show up, it will be assumed that that's why they know what they're doing and they think ahead, and we're thinking reactively. And I want that mess to stop. Because as much as I am for chastity, that's it, not for the fornication, let alone sexual deviance of any type. Even though I am for chastity, I want you to understand that what the misandrists are against is whatever is decent by your standards. They want the entire world to become a sexual prison for the male gender. That's what they're looking for. They don't want you to have the option of a stable married life and your sex life even combined to that. Not even that, even though that's what they say they want. They only, like I said, if you don't want that, then that's what they want. If that's what you look for, they want to take that off the table too. And what I'm saying to you, though, is that they're going to be proactive about this at every turn. It just took them a while to get into Brazil and Colombia, but they got their ideas there now. As a matter of fact, they'll stop preaching the feminism and the misandry. They already got enough of that in Black Brazil. And we know that in Brazil in general, especially its big cities and Colombia, they already know about the drugging and the robbing. So as far as they're concerned, okay, mission accomplished. Didn't even require feminism, just a few single moms that would do anything to feed their kids, and except for get jobs and work and save. And lo and behold, some men wind up passing away or waking up with their memories gone just as much as their assets are. Whatever. These folks are not playing with you, and that's what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. They would never, and we already know in the States, they would never make an approach to you, make the first move, especially when they're young and cute and childless. They wouldn't do that. But it is a priority to them to make sure you don't have anywhere else to go. That is their priority. And because we're so reactive, all they got to do is just sit up and calculate, well, what's the next best place for them to go? And we'll get started there early. They've been able to look at and see what the pattern is. Okay, the DR, Colombia, and Brazil. That's the Americas for them. Okay, so we'll spread what we can there. Okay, that's already in the Americas. It's geographically the West, but not culturally the West. So we can still put some of the nasty ideas there. I mean, you got gangs there, for God's sake. So You can put in some of the hybristophilia into the local women's minds. Okay, fair enough. I mean, hell, in Mexico, they already want cholo if they're ghetto enough. Okay, all right, we got that. All right, so what's next? All right, so they're not encountering violence in Southeast Asia. So what can we do about that? Well, we can get some jobs over there and we can learn some of the language and then we can tell them what we want to tell them, not only in English because enough of them are bilingual. We can start telling them a little bit in their own language too. And then, okay, girl, let's do it. Matter of fact, some of us already got jobs over there. We'll be the ones to get started. Okay, and then what's next? Well, we'll all right. So we things have been ruined in the bigger cities. So what's next? The smaller cities here. Let's see what we can spread to the smaller cities. Okay, girl, look, you know what? We got now that we got them knowing about this in the smaller cities, there's nowhere in this. Okay, now the country is done for. This ain't the place for them to go if they're looking for any kind of family life, any kind of stable domestic life by anybody's standards. What's next, girl? Well, where they gonna go next? Well, that's easy to figure out. Let's start there. And as a matter of fact, we can start with some of the women that are in this country that are from the countries that they would try to go to next, not logically. And we'll just tell those women so that when they go back to their countries, they'll tell the local women in their own language. Hell, they'll do the work for us. They're thinking ahead. And I'm telling you this because they don't listen to my channel. So I'm not giving them ideas. I'm telling you what ideas they're already going to discuss. When are we going to wake up and start understanding this and realize the urgency of getting with buddies in these other nations and letting them know what the work is coming down the pike? Because as we already know, that drugging and robbing, well, they'll do it to anybody. But what do you think they started with paisans in Colombia? You think that's who they did that to first? Nope. Started with the gringos, then the extranjeros, meaning any foreigner, then anybody could get it. And it'd been going on a long time. Sometimes they would do this to paisanos that were from another city that were visiting. But what I'm saying is that well, you get the idea as to what I'm saying. The gringos, as they call them, could have been the experimental ones, the ones you really try harder doses on or other drugs or something like that. Point I'm making is that's what they're going to do. And I'm going to let you guys know. I would sit up and say, well, that's what you get when you're chasing fornication. And if I thought that they were really doing this as a retaliation for that, I would tell you. But that's not why they're doing it. They're not coming up with the drugs and slipping them in the drinks as a retaliation because you're trying to fornicate. If you were out there looking for wives, they would do the same thing. You could go to places where um, you being a provider would be, or you being a provider at your level of provision would be a bonus, and they would appreciate that you want to marry them because of the way that they are towards their husbands. You could go there and look, if you're trying to do that and word gets out, then Karen, Becky, and Amber, along with Boom Shika Bon, Quisha, and Sapphire, are going to go and tell those broads that you were there for bad reasons. And they're going to tell these broads, oh no, girl, go ahead and marry him and get everything out of him. So they will teach these broads to behave towards you in ways they would not tell them to behave towards their own men, just to ruin it for you. And by extension, ruin it for their own men. For the men that are from there. The ones that would have, if we focused on this, been our buddies and been well aware and well apprised and able to advise their younger sisters and their daughters at early ages. When you hear women from the West talking like this, or you hear women from here talking like this in your own language, know that they're on a road to be old, bitter, lonely, and having to work until they die, or having to come up with new schemes and scams to make money off of men until they die. Know this. And if that's the life you want, go that route. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not blaming us for thinking of these things the way that the sistren have thought of them. That's not on us. We didn't think about these games. I blame us for not being proactive. We barely even been reactive, but I damn sure blame us for not being proactive enough. And I blame the ones of us who unfairly love our daughters and moms and sisters for even being enablers of this sort of thing at the expense of other men that didn't do anything. And what I've seen is that first there's passively us enabling some of this stuff because we just didn't know how to disable it. And you don't know, you don't know. So I'm not, like I said, I don't blame folks for that. But then I've also seen more and more of us just enable this stuff at a foolish level because you know what? Why not? Why would we think? You know what? Why would we sit up and give forethought to this stuff? You're looking at women who hardly ever think ahead about anything in life when it would behoove both you and them for them to do so. But as long as it's against you, they are consistently thinking ahead more so to your detriment than they are even to their own benefit. Girl, let's see where these men are going to go next. Now, that's not really going to always work out for them in the long run, but it will work against you, so they'll do it. And meanwhile, we're still trying to be reactive. What are you going to do now? You're going to go and try to make buddies with some guys in Colombia and tell them what sort of rhetoric is being preached to the local women that would even tell them to go and drug as many guys from wherever they are as they possibly can. Now it's too late. They already know. Some of them are probably looking and saying, well, these women didn't really become that good at it until they practiced on these gringos. They don't want to hear nothing from you. It's too late. I don't know if Thailand's too far gone. But you're probably going to have some Thai men that are looking and saying, well, I mean, you know, these women here picking up knives and stuff, they really weren't doing that until these other men came. Now these chicks are desensitized to violence and they'll pull weapons on us too, even if we don't provoke them like that. Maybe, maybe not. It'll get to that point if it hasn't already. What's that about? We didn't go over there and I know we didn't go anywhere and just crap on anybody for the most part. We weren't going to do that. But did we get to be buddies with some of the men that are there in Thailand and find out and learn about the inside of living as a Thai person from them and put ourselves in a position to be able to tell them about what the hell was about to be preached to their sisters and their daughters and their cousins and their nieces and their aunts? Did we do that? No. And what are we paying for it now? That's what it's about. These sisters know that kind of headache they are. And they're going to go around and try to teach the rest of the world's women to be the same headaches, first to you, and then by extension to their own men later. And there's going to come a day when it ain't even going to really be an effort that's being led by the Westernicians. It'll be an effort that it will be led by as much the Westernisha as the non-Westernisha. And look how quickly look how quickly this stuff changes. We talk more about traveling abroad than we actually are doing it, but yet and still they're making efforts to make sure that their message goes abroad so that it will be there when we land. They want the message of misandry everywhere so that no matter where you go, once you land, clear customs, passport control, baggage claim, and then walk outside and catch that ride share to go from the airport to wherever the hell you're going. They want you to face that same mentality of misandry. That's what they're looking for. And wherever the hell they know you like to go, That's going to be where they're going to target the people for that message. And so, you brothers, you're going to need to start letting wherever you decide to go, get some buddies there and get some buddies in neighboring countries and let them know so that you can help out the next man. And in this way, in this way, the men that do already live there can properly equip their lady relatives to shield themselves from this message. And then, hey, look, if you're looking to be a good husband, which I hope, there will be good wives for the men that are from there, for men from elsewhere that go there, or men from next door to where these ladies may go to work or something. That's why I, as a Muslim, even care about this stuff. If you want to walk the path of chastity, the misandrists are still at war against us too. That is why it is that I say what I say. That's why I'm Muslim, and yet I still make this red pill aware content. I don't tell you to womanize. I don't tell you to rack up a body count. I don't tell you to have kids and then not raise them. I don't tell you to do these things. I don't want you doing these things. But I do let you know what the games are and how stupid these games are that they're playing. Because, frankly, even the women that are seeking out marriage and nothing but marriage will play the same games as the chicks that are fornicating. That's why. Because even if we men are sitting up here looking for the path of chastity, these women will sit up and just, okay, well, even if we're married, we'll play these games. I let Olivia Alexa talk. I hear what she says and then I filter it. Chew the meat, spit out the bones. But why do I listen? Because she does at least say certain games that they're going to play. And she doesn't say, well, a married woman's not going to play these games. Why do I listen to Happy Wife School? She tells you games that wives play, and she'll tell you they play these games on good men. Happy Wife School, her name is Karen Sykes, I think, will sit up and tell you about the games that women will play on responsible men they choose to marry that they do not play on their irresponsible side ninja boyfriends, making marriage a bad deal. She does that. She's telling you, and so this is within the context of a marriage. So if you're looking to be chaste and be a good husband, these types of things still await you just for not knowing that they're there. Just for not knowing what the games are, who plays them, how you can tell when she's playing the games. These things are still sitting up there waiting on you, looking you in the face, just because you don't know what they are. These ladies that even these ladies that'll sit up here and got the nerve to say not until we're married, which is not the wrong thing to say if you say it for the right reasons, will turn around and then withhold the same thing after the marriage because there's some game they want to play and they would not. And while you're going the chase route because you don't know the game, some side ninja boyfriend's getting it for free. Because why not? Women who would not be able to respect you if you tried to fornicate still can't respect you if you wait. And you got to be able to see who these women are. You got to understand that sometimes some of these ladies, if you're talking about marriage with them, some of them will try to see if they can get you by yourself. And if they can get you to agree to meet them somewhere by yourselves, they lose respect for you. This ain't going to work. Never mind. You're like, what the hell did I do? You don't even know what it was. If you're going that chase route and you know the rules, no bumping ground without marriage, but you're courting. And they say, listen, I'm at this Starbucks. Can you come meet me? And you be like, it's going to take me this long to get there. See you then. You may not even know that she's there by herself. You might be thinking it's a busy place. So you're not even imagining it as someplace secluded, but in her mind, she's thinking about the fact that she don't know anyone that is there. So the point is you agreed to go meet her by yourselves, even if that wasn't your thinking, and then she loses respect for you. and goes forward with the marriage, not respecting you, and then can't bring herself to sleep with you enough later on. And you didn't even notice. And the whole time this all could have been avoided simply by you saying, well, yes, Starbucks is public enough. So it'll take me this long to get there. See you then. And that answer would have shown in the original message, oh, he doesn't see this as seclusion. So he's not really trying to meet me alone per se or in seclusion. That's right. I'm not thinking about that, but this is public enough. I mean, even if he doesn't know it's not that busy right now, it could get busy later. So yeah, I guess that was a respectable choice he made. And you don't even know they're playing these games. And you weren't playing any games. She was. Now, how is that fair to you? Well, that's what the hell is waiting on you. It just gets worse if you're not walking the path of chastity. That's all. That's why I put this content out there. And that's why I tell Muslim men, look, I'm not telling you to change the reactions to these things and do what Muslim men should not do. What I'm telling you is to know what the work is out there so that you can sidestep accordingly. As well as tell your daughters, listen, there's some basti niches. If you ever have daughters later, tell them there's some basti niches out there and this is the kind of stuff they're going to talk, and you need to sidestep them broads. And if you wind up marrying the wrong woman and you have daughters by her, you may have to tell your daughters when they get to an age of understanding, listen, there's some basti niches out there and this is how they're going to talk. And that's how you're going to know. And in order to tell them this is how they're going to talk, you might have to talk exactly the way that the mom does for them to be able to match them up later on without you bad-mouthing their mama. Let them do the matching later on. And then realizing mama's talking about playing games on these dudes that don't even deserve that. Damn, he was warning me about her. That's not how a chaste woman, a righteous woman's supposed to behave. Certainly not to a man that doesn't mean her any harm. What the fuck is this about? Everything that we're seeing now, all of these recent developments keep pointing to this thing that I told us to do earlier on. I remember saying this once in the end of 2019. And what the fuck happened? I was never in the black manosphere. I've never been as derided or ridiculed or ignored even the way that I was 30 years ago when I was trying to 30 plus years ago, and I was trying to tell all my partners in real life how if you keep acting this way with these women, they ain't gonna never learn nothing. And the rest of us are gonna always have to deal with the effects of what the work you failed to teach them. Now, in person 35 years ago and 34 and 33 years ago, it was pretty bad. Man, Black, you can't be expecting these women to wait a minute. You can expect them to do a whole lot of stuff. They're doing it. And you're telling me that we can't expect them to learn this particular lesson? No, I can't teach them, but we can. That's what I'm trying to get you dummies to realize. You're sitting up here letting them dictate how everything's going to be, therefore dictating what we have to learn. But you don't teach them anything that works to your benefit later. Now, there I was here in the black manosphere that has never happened. That's why I give thanks for you. But I have had you at times simply hear something and it just goes in one ear and out the other like you forgot it. And I get it that our lifestyles are busy, but that is something that you cannot afford to let go in one ear and out of the other anymore. You're going to have to start sharing this message with each other. I said it in my last upload to a certain extent, and I'm saying it again. I mean, my second to last upload, and I'm saying it again. You're going to have to get with these men, these buddies from other places, other cultures, other races. And some of you that are ADOS gangbangers are going to have to get with black men of other nationalities. The ones that, not like us. Yeah, we got to get with them. And let them tell us how their family dynamics work from the inside. And then we can turn around and let them know what's under attack and how it's under attack. Believe you me, I'm not saying this so that we can be seen as the saviors of the family structure and the traditional family structure in different parts of the globe. I'm not saying it just for that purpose. I'm saying it so that actually so that we and they have a chance at saving traditional family structures across the globe for men and women alike who actually would care to participate in that. Well, actually, I do want you, not me. I want you to be seen as saviors of that if it's possible. By actually being that if it's possible. If it's not, it's not. You tried. But if it is, I want you to get the credit. Not me. I'm not recognizable. I'm not going to be if the rumor gets out, you know what? Black men, whatever nationality, black men save traditional family structures in different parts of the world. If that ever gets out, do you think that when people say this, they're going to be imagining me, even if you haven't seen me? You think they're imagining Vin Diesel when that sort of thing gets out? Well, they're not going to be imagining me either. So you got a chance to be, visually speaking, a representation of the salvation of the traditional family structure in different parts of the globe where it still lasts. Or better than what was traditional. But this is what you're going to have to do. If Bali is your stick, then you're going to have to get with some of the men in Bali and ask them, get an idea from them what the traditional family structure is like. And you're going to hear about things that work and things that don't work. But you're going to be able to tell them, okay, this is what so-and-so was doing to attack that. You're going to say to them, listen, don't ignore who the feminists and the misandrists are that are speaking your language. Don't do that. Find out who they are and then tell your daughters, your cousins, your sisters not to listen to them or anyone else that sounds like them. That's what you do. So that you can maintain what it is you just told me about. That's how that works. That's what we're going to have to do. And I said it years before, and I didn't really know exactly how urgent it would be and how soon. I just knew that if we never did it, we were going to regret that. Well, guess what? We're now looking at less than 6 years after the first time that I can remember saying it. And here we are. Colombia, ruined. If you were going to go to Colombia to look for a wife, still ruined. Brazil, ruined. Unless you're going into Amazonia, where they probably don't speak English or Portuguese. Is that what you want to be stuck doing? If that's your shtick, fine. But if it's not, do you want to be stuck doing that? Come on now. I mean, you want to be able to fly into an airport and then fly into maybe another regional domestic airport to see your family? Or do you want to have to fly into an airport, then a regional domestic airport, then catch somebody's taxi to a ferry to another 5-hour upriver trip to meet your family? Which one you trying to do now? You want to be stuck having to go to places where there's no internet access to see your family, to even find your wife? Is that what you're looking for? Because that's exactly what Boom Shika, Bonquish, and Sophistiratchet Sapphire wanted to make sure that you have to do just to still not find the wife. Yeah, that's what they want. They want you to have to do all of that just to still wind up being drugged and robbed and taken advantage of and hated and mistreated for being a man. Oh, it's bad, isn't it? So get to it. Hurry up. Hurry up and get in touch with some of these men, these buddies, and find out what it is that they still got, and then let them know what's being done what's being said, what's being preached, what's going to be told to the women they love the most to ruin it. And this time, don't forget that I told you that. I mean, and when I tell you that I hope what I said is a benefit, thanks for listening. As always, Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout. Assalamu alaikum and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it. Black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day. Again, thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Airways. With a phrase, Jet Black's also a verb. Keep Jet Black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.